Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 68 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. We're back for our second upload in a row, baby. We're so locked in. We're back. 2 videos in and I'm already getting super hyped. But you know what? That's what we do here. We bring the vibes, we bring the energy so that you guys, even if you're having a sucky day or a sucky week, we lock in and we make you feel a little bit better. Or at least I hope we do. That's like the whole point of this podcast, right? That's what we do. Am I right?
Yeah, no. I meant one thing we don't bring you guys is haircuts. Because this is getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand. I got to book one for tomorrow.
Bro, I'm so cooked. My hair is like absurdly overgrown, and I'm lucky that like the headphones cover the sideburns because they are massively overgrown.
Yeah, it's getting out of hand, guys.
It is very good.
In any case, it does feel good to upload twice into
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We haven't uploaded it yet. We're just recording.
But if they're hearing it, we're uploaded it. So
you're right.
It's a good feeling, guys. Getting back into the rhythm is always a good feeling. But man, has it been? It's been a while since we recorded an episode after a week.
Yeah.
You know, usually I feel like we always let things build up. Well, not by choice, but by happenstance. Things always build up, and then we have this big episode. But I feel like it's pretty nice to talk about the little things sometimes. To take a moment and not worry about like some massive change, going to Italy, going to Japan, and just talking about the day-to-day lives and how we can be more Brighter Horizon, in our day-to-day lives. Mm-hmm. So I'll kick it off with you. Give me a Brighter Horizon moment you've had in the past week.
I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, a Brighter Horizon moment I've had in the last week. Okay, this is one that low-key... Hold on, let me fix my mic here. This actually happened a couple of days ago, and it was just a very reflective point for me, mainly because it actually involved the podcast, funny enough. But I was talking to my friends, shout out to Lynn and Alyssa, and we were chilling at school. We're studying, we're locking in because school is kind of crazy right now. There's a lot of stuff to catch up on. And we're sitting there doing our lectures, and we were talking about our lives, reflecting on what we've been through and things that we pursued for a bit and then gave up on, things that we quit on. And during that conversation, I just reflected on the podcast, and I just really thought to myself, man, how different would my life be if I had just given up? If I hadn't taken that extra step, if I hadn't taken that leap of faith to try something new, how different would my life be? And just to hit the point home with them, First of all, I showed them a clip that I have on my laptop of me and Eric testing the distance of the camera when the room wasn't painted, when the poster wasn't up, when the shelf wasn't there, when nothing was set up, and we were just getting into it with our terrible lighting in this ugly room. And I had the camera set up on the floor on my little drum stool because I didn't have a tripod at the time. And it's a clip of me and Eric sitting on the rolly chairs that we're using right now, about 6 feet away from the camera, just waving our hand like this at the camera, trying to get it to focus on us from the other side of the room. Because at the time, we were trying to do this with one camera. And it just didn't work. It was way too far away, and that's why we ended up investing in 2 cameras, better tripods, and a nice setup. But at the time, I never thought that we would end up here. I never thought that we'd have this crazy studio. Granted, obviously, it's not
granted, it's the exact same room. We just changed it.
Yeah, exactly. But we put in the work to make it better, right? To make it a proper studio, not just a dingy room with 2 chairs and a table. So to see how far we'd come from that clip specifically, that was a very inspiring moment for me. It made me feel very happy about the progress that we've made. But also just to show somebody else and be like, you shouldn't give up on your dreams because I didn't, and look at where I am. Granted, I don't have 100,000 subscribers or anything, but just to see that this is where we are now, where we can make weekly episodes, people will actually watch them, take something away from them, and have a better day. And I showed them that clip, and then I even pulled up one of the episodes that I have unlisted. So, one of the first episodes you and me ever recorded with the old logo, the old setup, and just terrible conversation. Everything sucked. And see, look, hearing about it.
It's just bad.
Just hearing about it, he winces. It's almost like a painful experience. And I showed them the first 10 seconds of that episode just to show them, look at how sucky I am here. And then I showed them the latest episode. And I said, look at what the podcast looks like now. They were like, you know what? It's a good point. It's a good point. And to me, I felt good because not only did I feel proud about what we've accomplished, but I also inspired somebody else to keep going. Regardless of whatever they face in life, they'll remember the story of, hey, he didn't give up on this. Even though the results aren't there all the time, he still kept going. And he didn't have any fear to come back to it even after taking a break.
Yeah, like, dude, growth over goals every day of the week, in my opinion. I think that just the idea of just, get 1% better is a mentality that more people need to adopt because I think it's much more healthy because you feel so much better going through the process. And also when you look back, it's not like once you get there, when it's like a goal thing, it's like, oh, finally I got there. Now I can be happy. But with growth, it's like every day I can be happy. And when I look back, every day was a day I should have been happy, even if you weren't. Like for us, maybe when we made a bad episode in our episode 30, right? At that time when we made a bad episode, we're like, dude, this sucks. But looking back on it now, I see that episode is 10 times better than episode 1. Mm-hmm. Every episode is a million times better than episode 1, honestly, in my opinion. But that concept that sometimes in the moment it sucks, sometimes in the moment it's a bad thing, but when you look at it from a growth perspective, it's pretty beautiful how things grow. Yeah. And I'm really happy that you highlighted that point of you inspired somebody else to do it. Because if you think about it, the idea that it's that easy, not to say that we haven't put in the effort with the podcast, because I think that we have, but people would say that this is very minimal success in the grand scheme of things, whatever, 300 subscribers compared to thousands, millions of subscribers that people have.
Yeah. And for reference, our last video has been out for a little under a week. Under a week?
Yeah.
Under a week, and it has 26 views. But I would have jumped and been leaping with joy if you told me we got 26 views on an episode in the first week.
Yeah.
Especially after being gone for 4 weeks. Uploading an episode and having 26 views in the first week. If you told me that several months ago, I would have been very happy.
Yeah.
Right?
And the idea is that your friends were able to be inspired by you doing something that wasn't even that crazy, right? You haven't done something insane, but it goes to show that you don't need to do crazy things to make an impact. Everybody thinks that impact has this massive bearing and that you need to revolutionize the way that somebody thinks to have an impact. But if you looked on your own life, you'd realize that you've been impacted by so many people, even if it was the shortest interaction, which is something that I kind of had the introspection on as I kind of closed out my official first year at uni. I kind of looked back at all the people that I interacted with over the year and I asked myself, what impact did each of these people have on me? And I was like, damn, because even the people who I exchanged one conversation with, I can still remember it so clearly. I still remember, sitting down with them and having that chat, that one interaction. That still had an impact on me. And, since I gave you the time to talk about one thing, during your week, I want to talk about one during mine.
All right, let's hear it.
I was at school, headed to class. Or actually, I think I just finished class, and I was going to just go and lock in and study. And, it was a relatively gloomy day. I'm walking down and, head down, not smiling or anything. I'm kind of just listening. I'm just in my own world, kind of just zoned out. I'm 1,000 yards staring as I just walk down this hallway. And I'm just look down and I'm just just walking. And then there's this massive group of elementary school kids that walk by this way. And as I'm walking, I just walk around. And then as I'm walking by, they all stop, look at me, wave, and start yelling good morning. All of them. And I was just damn. And I literally just looked up, biggest smile on my face. And I was like, oh, good morning to everybody as I walk by. And then one of the kids said, I like your shoes. And I was like, oh my God, this just made my day. And then when I tell you, after I walked past them, I was beaming. I was like the dog, bro. Yeah. I was so happy just walking all the way because I literally sat there for a moment while I was walking. I was like, I couldn't stop smiling. My cheeks physically started to hurt because of how much I was smiling.
Oh my God.
Because I was just so happy in that moment. And I was like, that's really all it took. And the thing is, I could have found another reason to smile. That day, even if I hadn't run into them, I could have found another reason to smile. And the way it made me feel, literally walking down that hallway with literally the biggest smile on my face, the fact that I don't chase that every day to me is crazy.
Yeah.
Because of just how great I felt doing it. It was just literally a life-changing experience. And the reason that like I wanted to really hammer home the point of like it doesn't take much was that that one good morning, considering it did come from a lot of people, but it was just a good morning. And like it did that much for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say I'm a person I was already kind of primed because I was in like a good state. But think about there's so many people in bad states that would kill for literally one moment like that.
Yeah.
That would kill for any moment like that. So to think that your impact isn't large just because it's not large from your lens is crazy. Because that tiny interaction, think about it, those kids are not going to remember me. Because I'm willing to bet you they said good morning to every single person that walked by, right? Not a single one of them is going to remember me. But I remember it so vividly, right? That is such a beautiful memory to me. Mm-hmm. It's like ingrained in my brain. And, I get to talk about it here and put it out for eternity, I guess. And it's just this glowing, happy memory. But it was such a simple interaction. And it kind of makes you question, should I really be that concerned about my impact? Should I really believe that, I need to do so much? Or is it really that simple? Because I really think that it is that simple. That helping and impact and really making a difference, it doesn't need to be grandiose. The little things are what really matter. They're the things that people really remember.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is, like, you might have thought of that as a bit of an overreaction when you said my, like, cheeks started to physically hurt from smiling so much. But the reason why is because during that conversation with my friends too, I realized for one of the first times in a while, I had been smiling so much and laughing so much that the same thing happened. Like my cheeks were
like right up here.
Right here.
Yeah.
The muscles right here start to tense up and like they're almost sore from how much I was smiling. And it was so funny because it was just the dumbest things that we're talking about too. Like we spend all this time focusing so much on microbiology, biochemistry, taking all these notes. And then 5 seconds later, we're pointing the finger at one of our friends and just laughing at her because she can't do multiplication. It was just silly. It was silly. It was hilarious. And then the funniest thing is, the reason why we broke out laughing so hard is because we had been clowning her saying like, why are you so slow? Like you can't process this in your head. And then she's like, you guys remind me of this meme. And she pulls up the meme and the meme is pretty much just saying cat, like explaining this sort of disorder using cat diagrams. Pretty much just says, cat's brain is not broken. It's just wired differently. Okay. And then it's just a bunch of like, it's so funny. I honestly can't even explain it using words, but one clip of it is the cat that's like the subject here saying that like she's stupid. Okay. And like slow. And then it just says cat can't do these questions that fast. And then it just shows, you know, that picture of a cat where like its mouth is like super wide open and it just starts screaming.
No.
So it just has two of those like cats next to each other, pointing the finger at the cat in the middle and just like screaming and laughing, right? And then the second I saw that, I just said, wait, that's literally us right now. And then the three of us just burst out laughing in the middle of school. And there were people sitting at the tables behind us and in front of us. And I could hear them laughing too because they're just sitting there trying to study too. And they're hearing this stupid conversation. But it's just those little moments that if you can learn to appreciate them, man, it makes life so much better. And that's one of the biggest things I've been reflecting on in the past week. I was somebody who I would say was very lost going into university because for those of you that don't know, I graduated in 2021, graduated high school in 2021. So I didn't have a proper graduation or a prom or like grad cruise, dry grad, nothing like that. I crossed the stage by myself, not a single person in the auditorium. My graduation was live streamed on YouTube. Don't go look for it. And I crossed the stage by myself, picked up my diploma, smiled at a camera. No people, no applause, no cheers, nothing. And walked out the door to meet my parents. And that was it. And that was my graduation. And I don't think that in my first couple of years of university, which were all online as well, so no face-to-face interaction, no, going there and building rapport or a community or friends in the first year and actually enjoying the school experience, I didn't have any of that. And I know that a lot of you out there didn't either. So I never really understood how much of an impact that had on my experience going into school. But now that I'm, in my fourth year, starting to close out my degree, and I'm actually enjoying school for once, I realize how big of an impact it had because I would have loved school, I think, if I had the opportunity to interact with people the way I should have. If I had the opportunity to close the chapter of high school the way I should have. But sometimes things just don't work out, and you just got to learn to find other reasons to be happy. But I genuinely think I would have enjoyed school a lot more if I had switched up my mentality a bit and found reasons to be happy. Because every day I went to school in the past 3 years, all I did was I went to school, I went by myself, I went to class, and I went home. That was it. I didn't stay at school, I didn't hang out with anybody, I didn't make any friends, I didn't study at school, I didn't do anything. I just came home. Granted, I was very productive. Like, I just kept working and doing stuff when I was at home too. But making those connections and having those people to talk to makes such a difference, even for me, right? And I was already doing the podcast before I had this newfound, happiness towards school, right? School was still a very uncertain thing for me, even in the past year. But once, especially Lynn and Alyssa, they kind of changed my perspective on school a lot and made me feel a lot happier at school. So that's why I give them a big shout out, especially in this episode, because genuinely, I don't think I'd be able to go to school with a smile on my face without having a couple of friends there that I can joke around with and study, right? That feeling of just knowing that there are a couple of people there going through the same thing you're going through, life-changing, life-changing. So whatever you're going through, understand that there's other people out there too. Find those people, man. Mesh with them, mingle, make friends, make connections, because those moments that you have with them change your perspective on life forever. It changes everything. And that's why you can remember even the smallest interaction you had with people in your first year, right?
Absolutely. Like for me, the one thing that I realized is in my first semester, I'll admit it, I was an avid class skipper. Man, I did not go to a lot of my classes, and I suffered. I suffered very heavily because of that. But I found that I took more classes in my second semester and far harder classes in my second semester. And yet I still went to way more lectures and performed way better. And the reason for that is because I made sure that I always took a class with a friend.
Yep.
I never took a class where I didn't have any friends in it. And it's not even that, I get to talk to my friends. Because sometimes we'll go to lecture and we will genuinely not speak. We will genuinely lock in. Or even if we're both not locked in, we'll literally be doing completely separate things. Like working on completely separate tasks. But just the notion of knowing that, or the idea of knowing that I'm not alone. That there's somebody else that's going through it gives you so much more security. Because you're like, it's just being less uncertain. Because there's somebody else there with you.
Yeah.
For me, there's one place that I love to study. And I always go there because every time I go there, I always find somebody that I know. And it always gives me that little inkling of hope that even if I sit down there by myself, at some time during the day, somebody is going to walk by that I know and they're going to stop by and say hi. And it's that little bit of hope that keeps me like, you know what? We'll just work for another hour because, somebody will stop by eventually. So having those little motivators throughout the day helps you so much. It helps you do the things that you don't want to do. Yeah. Make the things that you hate appealing. That's the one thing that, I learned from Atomic Habits is that if you want to make something habitual, make something that you will enjoy doing, shocker, make it something that you enjoy. There's so many ways you can alter the things that you do. Like for me, I'm not going to study for any of my classes by myself. I'm going to study with my friends because I don't think that I'm willing, or not that I'm willing, but I won't enjoy it as much studying by myself, just locking myself in a room and just committing things to memory. That's not really the way that I learn. I learn by making a memory, by, joking around with my friends as we study. Like that's just kind of how it is for me. And it makes that process so much more enjoyable. But the one thing to understand is that none of that happens if you don't appreciate the small thing. If you don't go back and say, you know what, it's a little conversation is all it takes to get, a friend. Or the fact that just having a friend in a class is enough to make you do better.
Yeah.
So stop putting emphasis on grandiose change. You don't need to change everything to make an impact. impacts are made on the little decisions. You know, one thing I was just like kind of scrolling through Instagram, and I saw this reel talking about relationships and like, these are the biggest mistakes to never make, and a lot of them were pretty stupid, I think, or they were pretty like straightforward, like, don't cheat on your partner. Shocker, who would have thought? But one of the things that I mentioned was that you don't need to be grand. It said that a lot of people appreciate the little things, like a good morning or a good night, like a how was your day, like a, bringing them coffee out of nowhere, remembering what type of tea they like, remembering what their order at McDonald's is. It's not buying them $1,000 watch or $1 million car. That's not, okay.
It's cool.
It's cool. But the really thoughtful things are when they remember things about you. Little things. It doesn't need to be big. It doesn't need to be massive. You don't need to revolutionize. But sometimes I see your face, dude. Like, I'm going to flick this over to your face because everybody needs to know I know what you were thinking. No.
What? No.
Oh.
Guarantee whatever. Okay, I need you to like.
Hold on, wait.
I need you to rewind and say what you think I was thinking.
Well, I said massive, and I thought you were going to
no.
low taper fade me.
No. That's not what happened. No, I'll get to why I was laughing in a second.
Okay, but anyway, the point being that even in a relationship, it doesn't need to be grand. This is not me saying don't be grand. Be grand. That's great. But there is a lot of impact to be found in doing the small things, in showing that you care in little ways. And, that applies for everything. But yes, I'm like very eager to hear what you want to say.
Okay, no, this is so stupid. Okay, I was eager, like smiling uncontrollably, and I was trying really hard not to laugh because right when you were in the middle of your story and you said to really focus on the little things, I just thought back for a second about an hour ago to what happened when we were sitting in your room and we're playing Brawl Stars.
Shocker.
and I'm sitting there with this guy and we're in complete silence. And one thing we've been doing a lot recently is like when we are feeling like extremely cooked, we just start singing that song from the meme with the dog. You know what I'm talking? You know what I'm talking about.
Obviously, I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
explain to them what you're talking about.
I don't know how to.
Well, it's like
it.
like the dog getting hit with. We'll just put the image up.
Yeah, I'll put the image up of the dog.
Yeah, and just play the music over the back, or like of us talking right now.
I might get copyrighted for that.
That's a great point.
But
let's avoid that.
Yeah, it's just a very funny clip of this dog, and it's pretty much like the "I'm cooked" meme. All right, yeah. And we were we both simultaneously sang the meme, and then transitioned the meme into. Oh, now I just feel like a bad person for not knowing what the song is. But, like, you also have to take pity on me. I'm kind of young, so I wouldn't know. But I will always love you. I don't know who sings the song.
Is that not Celine Dion?
Oh, you might be right. Man, this happens to me all the time, especially when I'm at work and they're, like, playing classic, like...
Oh, my God, it's Whitney Houston. Oh, my God. Guys, turn it off. Pack it up. Yo! Oh my God!
Oh my God, we're cooked.
And Celine Dion's Canadian.
We're cooked.
Guys, listen. Okay, we're youngins. We're not, you old heads. Like, oh my God! Yeah, 1992. You know what? I was negative. I was like, if I was born in 1992.
What?
I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Where are you going with this?
But like that was a long time ago, That's what I'm trying to say.
What? Okay. That was your explanation?
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with it.
Point is, this song is a decade older than I am, and I'm older than this guy too. So,
so guys, please have pity.
What's the song actually called? You didn't even tell me what
it's called. I Will Always Love You.
Okay. Anyways, point is.
Oh my God.
I will always love you. That's what we were singing, and we transitioned the meme into that song simultaneously without like that's never happened before. I've never done it before. He's never done it before. And we just did it at the same time. And I just looked at him like, what the hell just happened? And we both burst out laughing. And I don't know why, but in the middle of your explanation, I was just like, that moment just played in my head. And like, you could see me even now. I'm staring off into the distance, but I'm smiling
that was really funny.
Uncontrollably. I can't stop. So, man, I'm telling you, the little things. It's the little things. It's just, if you have the appreciation for it, life becomes so good. And the thing is, so many people don't have that, have the appreciation for those things. And I know because I get the firsthand experience sitting with my friends or meeting new people. Sometimes they just start to crash out over the most little things, right? The simplest things, they just start going, oh my God, we're cooked. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? It's over. It's over. Life sucks. Everything's blowing up, right?
I'm a little bit guilty, guys. I just want that to be known. I'm guilty as charged, but please continue.
Yeah, we all have our moments,
Yeah.
okay? But the point is, when my friends are having those moments, I will just, like, obviously I spit some Bright Horizon stuff. Like, that's my job. I spit wisdom, okay? You ask anybody, have they ever asked me for advice? And they'll say, yes, he gives good advice. I be cooking, all right? Don't worry. But at the same time, I still give very simple advice as well, because the answer is often the simplest one. It's just if you change your way of thinking, life becomes way better. Like, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, school sucks, everything sucks, my life is horrible, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to remember the context behind this conversation. But one of the conversations that I had with my friends at school this week, it was involving somebody complaining about living here. Somebody complaining about the conditions and saying that, life is so horrible and I wish that things were better here. And our initial response, all three of us collectively, we were like, dude, what is wrong with you? Because my first instinct was, you are literally fine. You are not in either of the countries that are getting bombed right now, okay? You don't have any right to sit here and complain about the life you live. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect. Nobody's life is perfect. Everyone has issues in their life. It's a matter of what can you appreciate? What can you be grateful for today? Can you wake up, look at yourself and say, man, I'm glad I have a roof over my head. Man, I'm glad I get to sleep in this comfy bed. Man, I'm glad I get to wake up and not have any diseases. You don't think about all these things because you take it for granted. That's why you need to take a step back, look at all the other people who are living in the world right now. Take a look at the news and see, man, these people are suffering out there and I have this beautiful opportunity. Just knowing that I have these little things, that's enough to make you smile for the day. To know, hey, I have something that a lot of people don't. You got to be grateful. You got to be grateful. That's step number one.
I think there was a quote that I found, and like the thing is, I don't actually know the quote, and I'm completely paraphrasing off of like what I interpreted as, but the main idea is that cold doesn't exist. It is simply an absence of heat. In the same way, hatred doesn't exist. It's just an absence of love. And the one thing I want to hammer home is like, I think inherently life isn't bad. I think inherently it's good. It's just sometimes we lack the perspective of observing said good, and we kind of fall into the trap of believing that things are so much worse than they are. And don't get me wrong, one of the things that you said that's really important to recognize is that things will go wrong. There are going to be wrong things, right? So again, like, I do believe that gratitude is so, so, so important, but there are going to be hard times. You can't expect to go through life again without any suffering. And it's okay to, feel like, dude, life sucks for a moment. But remember exactly that. It sucks for a moment. There are so many beautiful things to appreciate, so many little things that can really alter your perspective and have a big change if you let it. That's the key thing, is like, gratitude is comprised of two things. One is recognizing the fact that there are great things, and the second fact is accepting those great things into your life. Because it's easy to see, like, okay, yeah, I have a roof over my head. Like, yeah, I have that. But even me, I don't actively wake up every morning and think life is good because I have a roof over my head. I know that it exists. I'm aware of it, but I don't really like actually integrate it every single day. But rather, there's a lot of other things that I choose to integrate into my day every day. Being able to see my friends, being able to go to school, the stuff that I learn, the interactions I have. Those are the things that make me happy. But if you don't have those things, then start taking a look. Start taking a look around and saying, what can I internalize that's going to make me happy? That's going to give me that effect, that shift in my perception that's going to cause me to see the world in a better way. And the reality is that takes time. Like, that takes a lot of time and a lot of struggle. The only way that you get the perspective of being grateful is from, like, an absence of gratitude. Once you live through that pain and suffering of believing that the world is out to get you, that's when you'll finally get the shift to realize that, hey, maybe things aren't so bad. I think the reason that both of us can smile right now is because there were points in time where we both believed that the world is out to get me, everyone out there is terrible, I'm done. but it took a couple moments. I wouldn't actually say a couple moments. I would say a lot of moments, but a lot of small moments that, accumulated and led us to be able to see things this way now. And, damn, I had a really good idea. Hold on.
He's reaching. He's reaching for it. And he's pulling.
I didn't get it.
He lost it.
It's a sad reality we live in, guys. Sometimes you don't get everything that you desire. It's a part of life, Damn, it was a really good thought, too. Hold on. You talk about something. Let me see if that'll spawn in some inspiration, if you will.
Bro, I honestly, I was just going to transition to my, one of the biggest things that I was thinking about during your whole explanation here is you said we need to learn to integrate these things into our lives. And my biggest word that I want to underline there is learn. It's a skill that you develop over time. It's not something that just happens and you're just like, oh, I guess I understand it now. That's not really how it works. It's something you have to be very conscious of because you can ask any of the people I go to school with, any of my friends. I stress about exams to a degree just because I want to succeed and be happy. But I don't stress in the way a lot of students stress. I don't start pulling my hair out or I don't start, losing sleep over things. I'm very calm, even when I'm stressing out. And if I say, oh my God, we're cooked, I'm joking. I never mean we're cooked seriously. I always know that there's a way to make things better. But that was not my mentality always. Before I went on my enlightenment is what I like to call my Brighter Horizons arc, where, my brain opened up and I was like, man, life is pretty good. Before I had that whole experience, there were many times in my life where I just felt like giving up, where I didn't really feel like trying. And I just said, man, if it sucks, it's over. There's no chance at all. And I stressed a lot. I thought about my life way too hard. And I was never really able to look at life through an optimistic lens. But once I did transition to that optimistic lens, everything becomes so easy. So me, I don't crack under pressure at all, especially when it comes to school. So today is a great example because I'm sitting in my tutorial for one of my other classes and I have a lab in about an hour. And for each lab, you have to do a pre-lab. So you have to write up all the procedures. So what you're going to do in the lab, all the materials you're going to use, why you're doing it, any pre-lab calculations, stuff like that. Because in the lab, you pretty much only have time to execute the experiment and that's it. Okay? If you mess anything up because you wrote it down wrong, you're cooked. Okay? I didn't do that pre-lab until I got to my tutorial for my other class. And I started it in my tutorial. And both of my friends looked at me like, you're starting your pre-lab now? And I was like, yeah, I had a pretty, midday yesterday. I wasn't feeling good. I almost threw up 6 times, so I just couldn't really bring myself to do it. They were like, dude, are you crazy? And I was like, nah, I got this. My heart didn't skip a beat. I didn't feel any pressure, nothing. I was like, I got it.
Pressure?
What pressure?
Sorry, I had to.
I just feel so locked in. It's just, no matter what the deadline is, I feel like I'm capable of doing it. I don't know why, but once you look at it and say, this is not that bad, you break it down, it becomes doable. I was like, all right, I got an hour. That's more than enough time for me to write this pre-lab and then go execute the experiment. And I did it just fine. I got it done with 20 minutes to spare, right? The point is, if you can learn to say it's not that bad about life, you become significantly more adept at handling difficult situations. And that's why no matter what situation any of my friends are in, I'm always the bright light. I'm never the guy who's going to say, bro, it's over. Just throw in the towel. I'll never be that guy. I will always be the one to say, pick that towel up, wipe your face off, and get back in the ring. You're not giving up now. That's what I tell all of my friends. No matter how difficult the challenge is, no matter what difficult problem they're going through in life, I always tell them there's a way out of it. You just got to keep going. And who would I be to run the Brighter Horizons podcast and not tell somebody else that, right? It would be disingenuous and wrong. So, number one, I live by it. But number two, you all should too. There's no point in going through life with a pessimistic attitude. I've met plenty of people in the past couple of weeks who have this very, very overarching negative feeling about the way life goes, about how unjust things are, and about how uncertain their future is. you kind of have to be a bit crazy, a bit whimsical, a bit over optimistic to enjoy life to the fullest. And that's just a fact. It's a fact you'll never understand until you try it, which is, I guess, the truth about a lot of things. Because I wouldn't have agreed with this, over optimistic attitude until I tried it myself. And now I know I never want to go back. Like, if you rewind 3 years, even now he's still in my top 10 for sure, just because of the impact he had when I was growing up. But if you ask me who was my favorite artist before, 3 years ago, no, definitely more than that, when I was back in high school, I would have said Juice WRLD. I used to listen to Juice WRLD religiously, not just because I was not happy all the time. Like, I wasn't depressed or anything, but I definitely wasn't happy. And I just listened to that low down in the dump vibe kind of most of the time. That was the kind of music I listened to. But now I listen to all this upbeat music. I literally have a playlist called The Brightest Horizon. If you look at my phone, there's a playlist called that. And it's just for the happiest days. Well, that's not true. I listen to it on any day. But it's mainly for those days where the sun is out, the sky is blue, windows are down, driving on the road, and nothing is bothering me. That's the playlist I have on. And I'm very unbothered about, by little things now. It's just that tool that you kind of build over time. But you got to give it a shot first. You got it.
Caught my idea. I wanted to flash back to last week's episode where we talked about how sometimes we believe that people are out there to get you, right? And we were talking about tourism specifically, but I saw this reel, shocker. God, I feel like I'm just admitting to my addiction on here.
Bro is professional doom scroller.
Yeah. It was just this little video, and it's just text with music over the back. But the text is it's about this girl who says to her boyfriend, she says, sometimes when I text you and you're at work, I feel like you let out this super heavy sigh because you're annoyed that I'm texting you while you're busy. And then he says, that's really mean. I wish you would have never thought of me that way. And we think that inherently believing that, people feel these ways about us, we think that it's an internalization. She thought that it's about her, that she's not good enough or something like that. But to her boyfriend, that's him feeling like he's not making her feel like enough. Or that he really cares. I'm willing to bet you, most people in a relationship, if they got a text, they wouldn't feel overwhelmed. They wouldn't feel overburdened because they care. And it goes to show that so often we assume that we know what everybody else is feeling. And the sad thing is we always assume the worst.
Yeah.
So many people have this overarching pessimistic view that you talked about where they believe that every single person just has this negative connotation about them. And to me, that's crazy. Because once you really put yourself out there and you really let people develop their own opinions of you, you realize that most people only really have great things to say. And it's not a matter of, changing who you are to make people like you more. It's just if you be authentic, people resonate with it. People resonate with authenticity. The truth is, I have connected with more different people this year than I probably have in my entire life. And the only reason for that is because I've learned to be myself, to be real, to be authentic, to stop chasing validation from every single person that I come across, and to stop assuming that all these people hate me, or that all these people have these notions about me, that they believe I'm this or I'm that. Instead, I realize that I'm just a blank slate when I meet them. And then they make their opinion of me. But 9 times out of 10, their opinion is pretty goddamn beautiful. And I think the craziest thing to me is that oftentimes people have a better opinion of us than we do of ourselves. I'm willing to bet you if I asked most people what they thought about me, they would give me more glowing recommendations than I would give myself. And I'm willing to bet that about many of you, that there are so many people out there that truly and genuinely love you and see so much beauty in your character beyond what you can see. And this is crazy because I didn't mean to do this, but there's a quote, and the quote is, Butterflies can't see their own wings, yet everyone still admires their beauty. The fact that that perfectly tied in is ridiculous, and that is from Jack Scalise. We like genuinely all of you guys should follow his Instagram account. Every time one of his reels pops up, my cheeks get sore.
He gets giddy. Pause. Holy pause. Oh my days. I was thinking that the first time we said that sentence, but I was like, it's okay. I said face before that. Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious.
I smile, guys. That's how I should have phrased
Walked
it.
right into
the
it.
second.
You couldn't even finish that
Whenever
sentence.
I see a reel by him, I smile. That's how I'm gonna put it now. But
Now you're smiling at another dude, huh?
all right.
Okay.
All right. Now we're just taking it. Okay. Anyway, the thing I love about that quote is that we see all of our own flaws. We see all of our flaws. But the one thing that we never really see is our impact on other people.
Mm-hmm.
We don't truly understand it because no matter how hard you try, you'll never really get what other people think of you. Because no matter what people say, it's not really the full truth because either it's that they're lying or they, can't comprehend the full truth. Or it's just hard to put it to words in any case. But the fact that if you really think about it, if you think that people say beautiful things about you, they probably think even more beautiful things about you.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, does it really harm you to think so? Maybe there are bad apples. There's people that look at you bad. Like, guys, everybody has, a hater. But I think for every hater, there's 100 people that genuinely believe how beautiful you are.
Yeah.
That you're an amazing person in and out.
That's so crazy because I genuinely can't stop talking about these guys. I don't know why, but I've just had so many stories in the past week just from being at school. Maybe I'm just taking in more at school because I'm actually appreciating the moments at school. But point is, I was sitting there and I remember I'm sitting with a couple of my friends and they asked, we were just talking about lifestyle, how we live and what we do. And on average, I would say a good day for me is being asleep by 10:30. Yes, it's a bit past that
We're getting
now.
close to that time
Hey,
now.
but it's okay. We're sacrificing that for the sake of recording an episode for you guys because you're going to get something out of this episode, I hope. But normally, I like to sleep by 10:30. If not, I can push it a little bit later, and my late days are, 12 o'clock, hopefully. And I like to wake up around 8, or on a 10:30 day, I like to wake up at 6:37, right? And I remember saying that my body doesn't allow me to oversleep, which is, I guess, a blessing in the sense that if I sleep for 8 hours, my body will just wake up right away. And also when I go to bed, I fall asleep like that too. Instantly, right when my head hits the pillow, no matter what happened, very rarely am I awake for more than 10 minutes. I'm just out. I sleep really good. And I remember telling them that that's what my life was like, and they're like, damn, bro, you're like my role model. I need to lock in like you. That's the kind of sleep schedule I need. I need to be more like you. When they said that, I just felt really happy about who I was because I was like, man, this has just become so normal to me that I don't even feel like it's an accomplishment anymore. And then also, if I told most people, oh, I run 3 to 5 kilometers every single morning, not some people would say, oh my God, that's crazy. I've never done that before. Or I want to be more like you. Hearing somebody else say that is very inspiring because it reminds you that you've come a long way. It reminds you that you're not as bad as you think you are. And that's an idea that most people don't grasp. If you tell somebody else about your day, your daily life, I guarantee you they'll have something to say man, he does something very differently that I don't do. I wish I did things more like him. I wish that this part of my life was more like his. You never really get that insight unless you talk to people and you hear it from them. And you might not always hear it from people, but just know that somebody is thinking it. Right? At the end of the day, you definitely have strengths that other people won't see. And to be completely honest, they have their fair share of strengths too.
Oh, yeah.
That when I look at them, I have nothing but good things to say too. Man, they study way harder than me. They retain information so well. They do so good on exams. I want to be more like them in those aspects. But that's the beauty of life. We're all different. We all have different strengths and different weaknesses. The point is, you learn what you're good at, and then you inspire others to take from you. And then you learn from other people and get better. And that's why the whole argument of cooperation versus competition is so pointless because yes, you need a degree of competition, but cooperation is everything. Being able to work with somebody else and learn from them and just have a support network is huge. That's why 90% of business, as you would be able to talk about, is networking. Tell me, how much has networking transformed your life in only the first year of being at school?
Guys, I don't think it's actually quantifiable because the fact is every opportunity I have, people don't seem to like get this. I'll give myself credit where credit is due. I think I'm a pretty good dude, you know? But when I tell you that I would not have a single thing that I have if it wasn't for a person I met. Every single thing, everything comes from a person that I met. There was not a single thing that I achieved in my years of university so far that was just me, that didn't have any influence from somebody else that I'd met. And I'm willing to die on the stand believing that.
Yeah.
Because every little impact has an impact. You know, it's like this domino effect where every time that something happens, it leads to so many more beautiful things. And I'm really glad you brought up like how good it feels when somebody says something like that. Because I feel like we don't really internalize it. That a compliment goes a very far way. Like something as simple as that. You know, talking about how good your sleep schedule is. Think about how that made you feel. And like, you know, some people go their whole lives without hearing that. Some people go really long times without ever hearing that. So don't undermine it because it's a little thing. Instead, choose to, you know, accept the beauty in the little things. That a compliment goes a far way. A little note about something you admire about somebody, it goes a long way. Because people want to know. Because sometimes we can't see our wings. We can't see the beauty that's painted across them. Sometimes it just takes another person to remind us of how beautiful we are.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of another person reminding us about how beautiful the world is, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our weekly woohoos before I forget and we clock out of this episode.
Absolutely.
So this week, we're highlighting only one story. Only one story, but it might be one of the most beautiful stories I've ever heard. All right? And it's a story of selflessness, a story of giving, and a story of helping others, which is what we're all about here on the Brighter Horizons podcast. Okay? So, Michael Zollicoffer, very crazy last name, known by his patients as Dr. Z, spent the last 4 decades, 40 years, in the poorest neighborhoods of Baltimore, helping patients as a doctor. It didn't matter if you were poor, he saw you anyways. It didn't matter if you didn't have money and you couldn't pay him, he would still see you and help you. Yes, a doctor that didn't charge his patients. Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't believe that kind of altruism exists in the real world. It's the kind of thing that you see in movies, but you don't see in real life. Okay? But he did it. And in fact, this is a quote from his interview with CBS. He said, "Forget that dollar bill. I'm going to see you no matter what. You walk in that door, you will be seen. You bring your grandmother too. I'll see her too." That's the kind of guy he is. Big smile on his face, always happy, and you can tell that infectious positivity is what helped cure his patients, right? That kind of positivity changes things a lot, and it's something we talked about all episode. He was always available. He never took days off, and he even gave his personal phone number to his patients so that if they ever needed anything, they could call him directly. No need to call the clinic. Just call me and let me know what I can do for you. A man of the people, a real-life superhero. But unfortunately, a couple of months ago, he was diagnosed with cancer. Not one, but 2 types of cancer at the same time. And as a guy who had been doing things for free for quite a while, obviously you can imagine that he wasn't really the wealthiest man to be able to handle those payments on his own. And to make matters worse, his insurance fell through, so he couldn't be covered anymore under Medicare. And his hospital bill totaled out to be $150,000 to get treatment for these cancers. And now this is the part where things turned around. Things became a beautiful story. The community, the patients that he had treated for free for so many years, and somebody who went to high school with him started a GoFundMe for him. And together, with the help of the community, telling his story, and a couple of interviews with the news, they raised a whopping $280,000 for Dr. Z to get the treatment he needs. Fast forward to today, he's cancer-free, his insurance is back on track, and on top of that, he's back serving the community. And the beautiful thing about that is all that money that he got, all the money that was extra aside from his healthcare, he has every reason to take that money and live a decent life. But you know what he did? He's funneling it back into the community to continue giving back and helping others. And to cap off the story, this was his closing remark in the interview. He said, "You know what? I'm going to say something that may seem crazy as heck. I'm thankful that I got cancer because I am the happiest man on the planet no matter what the outcome was from this situation. What we have shown and why we're sitting at this table right now, we've shown America that this is what it's all about. We are about giving. I can't make it without them, nor can they make it without me." That is probably one of the most inspiring stories I've heard in a while. A guy who shows that it's never about yourself, that it's all about helping others, and that one day, whether you believe in karma or not, whether you believe in God or not, whether you believe in universal laws of attraction, that what you put out there will come back. No matter what it is that you believe in, doing good to the rest of the world is how you achieve the best outcome. Genuinely, I don't know how else to talk about that story because, man, it's beautiful. And even once he had the opportunity to quit, to say, man, I got all this money now, I'm good, he still didn't do it. And he's out there helping people right now. And that's your reminder that, yeah, we can help by doing crazy things like seeing patients for free for 40 years. But it's also the little things. You can just go out there, make somebody smile, have a couple of genuine moments with people out there, wave at somebody, say good morning, say I like your outfit. Make those little moments count, man, because you never know how big of an impact you could have.
And with that, we come to the end of episode 68 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. But before you guys go, you already know what time it is. It is time for Quote
Of
the
Week.
Hit 'em.
Quote of the week. Simple today. It's not unrealistic if other people have it. And this is a quote that I just saw on an Instagram reel. Very simple. A simple one-liner for you guys today. But it's profound. Simple but profound. And the reason why I chose this today is that a lot of you guys will watch this show and say, I don't understand how they do it. How do they smile through everything? How do they face those adversities and still be happy no matter what, and tell these stories on YouTube to 300 people and not get discouraged? Well, to be honest with you, I can't tell you exactly how we got to the place we're at right now. But what I can tell you is you see how we smile through everything. You see what we've accomplished through a couple of years of just persevering. That alone should be proof that it is doable. It's not unrealistic to be able to wake up every day with a smile on your face. It's not unrealistic to chase your goals and become a super, super successful person. Anyone who tells you that these dreams are unrealistic is simply trying to comply with their own insecurities. You can wake up every day and smile. You can wake up every day and be positive. Don't let anybody else drag you down, because that's exactly what we do here every single day of every single year, and we hope that you learn to do the same.
And with that, we officially come to the end of episode 68 of the Brighter Horizons podcast. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the very end. Now, it's important to note that things don't need to be big. It doesn't need to be a grand scale to make a difference. That impact is defined by the little things, the little dominoes that we set in motion to cause large-scale change. Wear a smile. It ain't that hard, and all of you guys can do it. And with that, make sure you live a positive life, y'all. Peace out.